Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share with you my new favorite exercise for anterior pelvic tilt. So in this video we're going to go through 4 things. The first is exactly why I love this exercise, which is a principle that you can apply to all your abdominal exercise to help you get out of anterior pelvic tilt. The second part is we're going to go over precisely how to do this exercise. The third part is which variations are going to be best for you. We're going to answer that question. And the fourth part is I'm going to show you exactly what I recommend to people, and we're going to be doing this exercise together. So let's dive in now. So one, why is this my new favorite exercise? So before I give you the principle behind this exercise, we have to explore what is anterior pelvic tilt. I know a lot of you know, but I just want to recap. So anterior pelvic tilt basically means that you're not trying to stick your butt out, okay? But it looks like you are, all right? So this might be your natural state, in which case this would be some pretty severe anterior pelvic tilt. And we want a nice neutral position. And it essentially means that the front of your pelvis is rotated downward, okay? Now, this is the biggest problem with anterior pelvic tilt exercises. The idea behind why they should get you out, but why they don't actually, is that most abdominal exercises are targeting the abdominals to help tilt back up your pelvis, right? So again, the issue is the pelvis, the front of the pelvis is rotated too far downward. We're trying to use the abdominals to tilt it back up, right? So, okay, just use any abdominal exercise and it'll work, right? No. The problem with abdominal exercises is that it's actually also working the muscles that are producing anterior pelvic tilt. So, which muscles are responsible primarily in the front for producing anterior pelvic tilt? Those are the hip flexors, all right? And the hip flexors, what they basically do, if I'm lying down here, they raise up the hip, right? Now, does this remind you of anything, right? Imagine I'm doing a hanging leg raise, got my arms overhead and I'm raising up my legs, and yes, my abdominals are working, but your hip flexors are also working. Now, what if I gave you a plank exercise, right? Now, this one, knees are not moving up, so therefore I should not be using my hip flexors, right? My knees can't move up, right? Not true. The knees are pushing into the ground, which are activating your hip flexors. And this is true for a lot, and actually most abdominal exercises. Either the knees are going up, which creates a strong hip flexor activation and reinforces anterior pelvic tilt, or the knees are pushing into something, or even the hip flexors are just contracting because they are trying to stabilize this pelvis here, right? So this is the problem with virtually all abdominal exercises. Yes, we are working the abdominals, but we're simultaneously working the hip flexors, which are pulling down the front of our pelvis. What is the solution? Well, this gets us into part 2. How we're going to set up for this new exercise to help get you out of anterior pelvic tilt is something that I just showed you, but we're going to do this exercise differently than any way that you've ever done it in your life, all right? Now, remember the goal or the principle of what we're after. Activate the abdominals to pull up the front of the pelvis and relax the hip flexors. And that's precisely what we're going to do. Let's set up. So I want each and every one of you to go into a plank position. Knees are on the ground. And this is very important actually, okay? We're going to tilt up, especially if you have a lot of anterior pelvic tilt, and you can check my other videos to make sure that you have it, or if you don't and you want to maintain good pelvic position, we're going to tilt up the front of the pelvis, assuming you have anterior pelvic tilt, and this is the key thing, we're relaxing all of your thigh muscles. You got to imagine that from here on down, is completely paralyzed. You're not using it. You need to relax it. If you cannot relax at first, don't worry about it. Keep thinking about it and keep imagining that it's just relaxed and it's just jelly. Okay, there's nothing there. Over time, you will be able to relax that and just turn on the abdominals. And that is the main principle behind what we're doing. And this one is my favorite variation, or my favorite abdominal exercise. I call it a relaxed thighs plank, which can allow you to get out of anterior pelvic tilt much faster than doing all kinds of, actually, I see a lot of people who do so much abdominal work that if they were just doing purely abdominal work and leaving out the hip flexors, they would have got out of anterior pelvic tilt a long time ago, but they're stuck in it because they're still working their hip flexors. So, part 4, I'm not going to fast forward yet. We're going to jump into exactly what type of rep and set scheme that you can do on the daily if you have anterior pelvic tilt, which is what I recommend if you do have it. Which variation would be best for you? So I don't want you jumping into the ab wheel variation, which looks essentially like this. And the ab wheel is just awesome because you can get into this one and it's so easy to relax the thighs and you get a much stronger abdominal contraction. But only use that one once you are very confident that you are relaxing your thighs. And that often takes at least a couple days, if not a couple weeks, to really sense that you're relaxing your hip flexors, all right? Now, a lot of people may need to do this off of, they can use their arms on a wall. You can do, you can elevate and put your arms on a tape at the end of like a ledge or a table. The goal is this, make it so that you can feel your abdominals. And I do recommend a little bracing, which means we're tensing up the abdominals a little bit, kind of squeezing them, maybe about a level of about a 3 or 4 out of 10. And then we're relaxing the thighs as much as possible. You don't need to do this perfectly at first. It may not be possible. That's totally fine. But as you practice this consistently, you'll feel your thighs relax more and more, and you're going to be able to get out of anterior pelvic tilt way faster, or actually get out of anterior pelvic tilt finally if you've never been out of anterior pelvic tilt, using this exercise and using the principle in this exercise. Okay, so I want to go through what I generally recommend for a person who I see is an anterior pelvic tilt and they're looking to get out of it as soon as possible. This rep scheme can be done daily, all right? So it's modeled after the McGill Big 3. In fact, you can do this exercise with the McGill Big 3, maybe after or before, but the idea is that we want to be able to accomplish this and have good technique and good activation of the abs and good deactivation of the hip flexors during all of the reps that we're going to be doing this exercise with. All right, so please feel free to follow along with me. You can use this timestamp. All right, and what we're going to do is go through 4 reps on the first set, 3 reps on the second set, and 2 reps on the final set. Each rep will last for 10 seconds, and between each rep, we're just gonna rest for 3 seconds. Now, how I relax in between the reps is important, and what you're gonna see that I'm doing is going from here, right, relaxing those thighs, to here, okay? When you go from here to there, do not use your hip flexors, please, okay? Use your shoulders. And if your shoulders get very tired, you can just do less time with more breaks if you need to. It's totally fine. Your shoulders will likely acclimate to this exercise and you get used to them. All right, so we're gonna start with 4 reps, with each rep lasting for 10 seconds. Let's get set up. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, begin. I do recommend taking a full inhale and a full exhale for each rep, okay? one good inhale and one good exhale, which I'm obviously contradicting myself because I'm exhaling as I'm talking right now, but I think you get the idea. All right, we're gonna rest for 30 seconds. And that's why I have two timers. One is for the 10 seconds on, 3 seconds off, and the other is for the 30-second timer. When you are breathing through this exercise, I really want you to be taking a full inhale through the nose with mouth closed, tongue on the roof of your mouth. And let's go for breathing out with like you're fogging up a glass. All right, we're gonna start here in 3, 2, 1, begin. All right, so we're going to rest for another 30 seconds. The main, sorry about that, main reason why we are doing these types of reps is so that we can actually work the strongest muscle fibers in your body, and it actually helps them to build up endurance, right? So if we went for one long set, that's not going to be very valuable for us because we'll start 3, 2, 1, begin. It wouldn't be very valuable for us because if we get even just a little bit tired after 20-30 seconds of doing a long set, what'll happen is the strongest muscle fibers, they're just going to stop being used, and so our body won't use them anymore, and we want to engage all the muscle fibers. So that is our final set, and my question to you is, have you been trying to get out of anterior pelvic tilt using a lot of different ab exercises, and has it worked for you or has it not? The other thing too is, how was this exercise for you? How does it feel for you? So if you have any questions or comments on the exercise or anterior pelvic tilt, I'm happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.